It is the morning of May 30th, 1431. In the French market town of Rouen in English-controlled Normandy, 10,000 people have congregated to witness an execution. Standing at the stake in the center of the square is 19-year-old condemned prisoner and military heroine Joan of Arc. The hostile crowd spits and declares, "Heretic! Witch!" Joan closes her eyes, faces the heavens, and tightens her grip on the crucifix in her hands. With fear turning into conviction, Joan draws courage in the knowledge that even though her accusers believe she is guilty, she remains innocent in the eyes of God. Bishop Cauchon, who sentenced her to death, orders the executioner to ignite the fire as the crowd roars with a thirst for blood. Joan screams as the fire scorches her flesh. She remains resolute, praying to God before succumbing to the inferno. At the time of her death, Joan of Arc was the most celebrated military leader of France. She took command of the French army and single-handedly reversed the destiny of the 100 Years' War between English and French kingdoms during the late Middle Ages. Being the only person to ever be condemned and canonized by the Catholic Church, Saint Joan of Arc was declared a martyr in 1456 before being canonized by Pope Benedict XV in 1920, sealing her legacy in history. Saint Joan of Arc, the patron saint of France and of soldiers, was born on January 6, 1412 to religious parents of the peasant class in Domremy, France near the province of Lorraine. When she was 13 years old in her father's garden, she had visions of Saint Catherine, Saint Margaret, and Saint Michael who asked her to dispel the English from French territory. They also asked her to bring Dauphin Charles VII to Reims to crown him as king. They told her that she alone was destined to deliver victory to France. At the age of 16, Joan was reluctantly escorted to the French royal court in Chinon, where she dressed like a male soldier for her safety. At the royal court, she met with Dauphin Charles, who could not be officially crowned king because the province of Reims was under English rule. Joan explained to Charles that God had sent her to defeat the English army and to fulfill his coronation. Charles looked for guidance from his theologians, and they declared Joan to be a good Christian that possessed the virtues of humility, honesty, and simplicity. They claimed she had a favorable presumption of the divine nature of her mission. Armed with a white warrior horse, a sword, metal armor, and the banner of battle, Joan embarked on many military campaigns, including the Battle of Orleans, the capture of the Bridge of Loire, Battle of Pray, and after insisting that Charles must be crowned, the siege of Reims where Charles VII would finally be crowned King of France. Joan was a courageous leader and was often wounded in battle, taking an arrow to her shoulder and a crossbow bolt to her thigh. In March of 1430, Joan was captured at Camp Marigny after a failed attack against the Burgundy army, then working in alliance with the English kingdom. She was held prisoner in a castle dungeon before undergoing trial for heresy on January 9, 1431. Bishop Cauchon of the French Catholic Church, and with the support of the English Catholic Church, accused Joan of 12 articles of heresy and forced her to agree that she could not bear arms or wear men's clothing. Throughout the trial, her head was shaved and she remained in chains. In prison, Joan was mistreated by the English nobleman who was forced to wear men's clothes. Yet Joan refused to betray France and King Charles. Cauchon convinces the jury to convict her of both heresy and witchcraft. Sentenced to burn at the stake, Joan remains justified in her innocence under the judgment of God. On May 30th, 1431, before a congregation of 10,000, Saint Joan of Arc was burned alive. Her final words were the invocation of the name of Jesus Christ. Saint Joan of Arc became a martyr in 1456 when Pope Calixtus III annulled her sentence. Pope Pius X announced her beatification in 1909, acknowledging her acceptance into heaven. Joan was canonized by Pope Benedict XV and declared a saint in 1920. Her feast day is May 30th, commemorating the day of her execution. I chose Saint Joan of Arc because I admire her strong virtues, her mental and physical courage, and her bold leadership. Her unwavering conviction inspires me to repel the sins of tyranny and oppression. Saint Joan of Arc shares a birthday with my maternal grandmother, who was of similar strength and philosophy, fighting the illness of cancer with courage and resolution. Saint Joan of Arc is remembered as a Catholic martyr, a war heroine, a feminist icon, and a symbol of female strength. Joan's legacy will continue to compel and inspire, with a life so powerfully lived yet so violently and youthfully ended.